We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. All right, welcome everybody. We got a jam-packed show today. By the way, I'm Stephen Willis. Welcome to the POMcast. Today we are going to go over the Locked On network that we're looking at. We announced yesterday, so thank you for tuning into that. You can hear a little bit about that today. The second segment, we're going to go over what exactly is wrong with Vanderbilt. What is happening with Vanderbilt that has seen them drop off so much? And the third part, we're going to do against the spread, just do lines and give you an update of what's going on through the guys at betonline.ag. Again, my name is Stephen Willis. I do want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That is Travel and Cruise World, 1-800-330-7461. Basically, what I was trying to do was to give you guys a resource. Everybody needs a vacation. We're 20 months into this at this time. So you can give them a call. They can get you the same price that you can get online and be a resource for you. They can tell you where masks are due, whatever's going on. Anything that can affect your vacation, they can help you out with. So that's 1-800-330-7461. See Central Florida like a local. That's travelandcruiseworld.com. Also down below, you can see where you can catch us on our podcast. You can search Positively Ole Miss and they'll bring up the stream. Leave a 5-star review. Doesn't matter what you say, just leave a 5-star review. That is going to kind of change a little bit as we get into this. I'll tell you about that in just a second. And also, for now, you can catch us at the Stephen Willis or at YCN_SEC. At YCN_SEC. You can catch us there. You can catch us on YouTube at Y'all's Conference Network. And you can catch us on Twitch at Y'all's Conference Network or YCN_SEC, all lowercase. So our addresses have changed a little bit. It's because of what's going on. And we're just in the middle of a 45-day transition thing to get to the start of the new year where we're going to really start clicking a little bit. We've got 2 or 3 independent podcasters that have joined the show, the YCN family, so they're networking together. So we're going to put those together and we're going to do all that we can do and help everybody out as best we can. But if you follow that YCN Y'all's Conference Network YouTube page, you'll be able to see it all because everything that's going to be paired will go through that as well. So I'm unbelievably thrilled to be a part of the Locked On Network. It is from what I've seen, it's a highly skilled organization. This isn't a normal podcast network, and they're designed to be kind of short form podcasts, which we were already doing. So 22 to 30 minutes every day, Monday through Friday, you're going to get Ole Miss shows just like you are already. The graphics are going to change. The look's going to change. Where you consume the video is going to change. Where you consume the audio is going to change. We're going to let you know what that is about. Whenever we change over, I will do a video to let you know how to find the Locked On Ole Miss stuff. So everybody wants Ole Miss stuff. I will let you know how to find it. And, I mean, at that point right there, let's see, it'll be December 13th starting. That'll be going into bowl season. Either Ole Miss is going to be playing an Access Bowl for the 3rd time in 7 years, or they'll be at like the Citrus Bowl, and I'll be able to actually go to the game. It'll be 30 minutes away, And if they do that, I can just cover the whole thing. So it's going to be a boon for the Locked On network either way for Locked On Ole Miss. So I think tomorrow, for the next 2 weeks or so, because there's going to be a week at the beginning of January where I just go completely dark. So be prepared for that. December 4th through the 12th. I'm going to go completely dark. I'm going to recharge everything that needs to happen. Going to do that. But until then, I'm thinking about naming all of my podcasts Locked On something. Like tomorrow could be Locked On Vandy, and then Monday would be Locked On Betting or what, something like that. And I'm thinking about doing that. We are going to pick up next week with the Beast of the East with 2 new hosts to join Corey Burton. That is going to be Israel Troop and Vinny Hardy. That's from Israel Troop is from Believe in Georgia Dogs. Vinny Hardy is from Believe in Kentucky. Which, always good to have a Kentucky guy right before basketball season showing up on the channel, on the network. Just saying. Even though the SEC is kind of a bear and Kentucky might struggle to finish 6th this year. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But looking at those things, that's the reason we're excited about doing this. Nothing's really going to change. I mean, the format of our show might change just a little bit just because of ad breaks. I think there's 6 ad breaks that appear during the show. But you're not really going to see any difference because we've been doing a 30-minute show for, I don't know, a year at this point. So it's not going to be any different for those that consume the media to begin with. And, you know, we're getting to the point where there's several people downloading it. There's several people consuming it on Twitter. There's lots of people consuming it on Twitch and things like that. And combined, there's a decent little following right now for the POMcast. And I thank you. I genuinely thank you for doing that, because without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this and wouldn't be able to have this fun. And this opportunity to move on to the Locked On Network would not have happened without you. So thank you very much for that. And what you're going to see moving forward is just a growth pattern of the network. What was Positively Ole Miss is now going to be, on one side, the Locked On Ole Miss podcast channel, and on this side is going to be the Y'all Conference Network. And you'll see all the pairing and all the individual stuff, and SEC After Dark and all that will be there. So at the end of the day, it's media that you're going to have to consume in 2 separate places. But hopefully we can, over a month, we can get you guys prepared for what has to happen. Although the stuff that was Positively Ole Miss and how you're consuming it now, that's just the way it is. Thank you, Zach, very much. It's pretty awesome. It really is. And we're going to try to have some fun with doing that. And obviously the chat works. You can see it there. I can see it here. It might not be up on the screen, but it rolls through. So we also have a Christmas present set up for you, the Y'all's Conference Network Christmas present on December 15th. Now, December 15th is the day that I begin radiation, so I need to set that appointment for the afternoon. But we're going to do something that day. I'm not going to tell you exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to try and do something for early signing day. And, with everybody streaming and the people coming in and out and talking about what's going on, especially with the top signees are of their class. We've already secured spots from Alabama, from Texas A&M, not coaches, talking about podcasters that's in the network. Georgia, we secured them. I think we can get Kentucky. We probably get LSU as well. It's a good number of people, so we can go around and look around the SEC to see who is excited on signing day. And eventually this could grow to being basically remote to where we need to be. Because way back a million years ago, I was the basically feed truck manager at a TV station in Nashville. To where if you wanted to go live, you had to, drop up the microwave truck and you line them up and everything that goes, and then you can go live. Now, I just need a cell phone. If you have a cell phone, I can go live from your location. And I have done that. We went live in the middle of an Ole Miss baseball game last year just to see if we could do it. And we could. And it's just a really cool thing. So let's move off because we do have Vandy this weekend. And it's important to, I guess, take them seriously, however you want to put it. But my question is, what has happened to Vanderbilt football? Now, Vandy has never been good. You don't get to be Vandy without ever being good. I mean, other than the 2 years with James Franklin, with Aaron Rodgers and KJ Carter-Samuels, the Vanderbilt Commodores have, let's say, a middling program. They've been a middling program. Just to be nice to them, like I said, I have a soft spot for Vandy. I spent basically a month in neuro ICU in 2019. And their standard of care and everything is great. So I will always have a soft spot to Vandy. So what happened to them? What caused that drop between 2012 or 2013 and now? Now, first thing is James Franklin going to Penn State. That's the obvious reason. I was embedded with James Franklin on signing day in 2013. In February 2013, when Robert Kondichi and Laquan and all those guys signed with Ole Miss. On signing day, you can see he has a magnetic personality. You can see how he could recruit well. He still didn't sign a top 100 player, but you can see why he can recruit well. And he was able to evaluate, and he did a lot of that Ralph Friedgen type stuff offensively that you saw at Georgia Tech with George O'Leary. And that kind of worked, and they switched it over to a spread offense. And it was a little bit quirky. And they had Bob Shoop, I think that's his name. Shoop, I think is his last name, as defensive coordinator. And he did some different stuff, and they recruited to it, and they caused havoc. And that worked at Vanderbilt. I mean, he won 9 games back-to-back years at Vanderbilt. Build that man a statue. I don't care what's going on, build that man a statue. But after that, they hired Derek Mason. The athletic department at Vandy decided, for whatever reason, that they need to copy Stanford, because Stanford is doing this and they're being successful at the moment. Whenever Harbaugh and the beginning of David Shaw was happening, Derek Mason was the defensive coordinator. And he was known as the defensive coordinator that could figure out Oregon when nobody else could. That's what made Derek Mason famous, is being able to figure out Oregon. And he did. But Vandy said, okay, this is happening at Stanford. We should try and recreate that here. Well, what they didn't realize is that required a massive systems change. It was like going from the air raid to the wishbone is essentially what happened in that offense. It was a little bit less than that, and I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but that's kind of what happened with that system change. They did not have the personnel in place to run Stanford's offense, to run Stanford's defense. And because of that, the drop-off from James Franklin to Derek Mason was sharp. It was oh so sharp. And all the momentum that was gained from those 2 9-win seasons was gone. All because somebody bungled a hire and tried to outthink themselves. So, they do that, and Derek Mason kind of builds it back up, and it gets to about a 5-win point where they're kind of a middling program again, and they were pretty good with Shermer at quarterback, and all of those players going back and forth, but they could never quite break through. And then the transfer portal hit. Once Derek Mason got in trouble, the better players started transferring out, like 2 or 3 players that went to Auburn. So it depleted their depth on top of everything else. So a new coach comes in that the system is not made for, that has to be recruited for. Vandy has massive problems on both lines of scrimmage, although they do have one defensive lineman that is making a little bit of plays. But this is a 7 or 8 year build at this point. Vandy should be a school that leads the other smart schools. You shouldn't be taking cues off Stanford, who is trying to do something to make themselves successful in Pac-12 ball. You shouldn't be trying to do what Baylor does. You shouldn't be trying to do what TCU does. You shouldn't be trying to do what Duke does or Northwestern does. You should be leading that group. They should be doing what you're doing. Clark Lee was a good step. I don't know if he'll be able to be successful, but it was one of those situations where Vandy, you could tell they figured out what they wanted and made a move. They weren't trying to copy anybody. They just wanted this guy, mainly because Clark Lee is one of their guys. I don't know if it'll work. It's a game where this weekend where I expect Ole Miss to run the ball pretty well, throw the ball pretty well, and Vandy gets a little bit turned around and ends up being a 41-14 game. That's not enough to cover, but they get Matt Corral out early in the third quarter, get ready for state. He has 350 yards passing because Ole Miss aired it out in the first half. That's kind of what I see happening. But Vanderbilt has some work to do. They don't want to be Kansas. It's a death sentence. Once you get in that death spiral, it is hard to pull yourself out. And firing Clark Lee in the next 2 or 3 years would put them in that death spiral. They have a chance to basically survive this still. Now, it's still going to be a little bit of pain, or actually kill Vanderbilt football. That's what the next couple of years bring to fruition, because it is what it is. They're a good team. I like Ken Seals. I told you, I'm the president of the Ken Seals fan club. He's had a bad year. He has no offensive line. He's been hurt several times. Defensive line, they can't get a rush. They do cause turnovers from time to time. They have 12 picks at the moment, as we went over on the Know Thy Enemy segment. So there's a chance that this game in the first quarter is closer than you expect. I just don't know if they'll be able to handle the tempo. I think that'll be able to get them. This might be the first time they've dealt with that kind of speed. And Vanderbilt has Ole Miss this week and Tennessee next week. So, and I don't think they played Arkansas. So this will be the first time they saw this. So there's a chance for this game to get completely out of hand. Some of the players from Vanderbilt are going to understand it because they saw Ole Miss last year. But I don't think they're going to know exactly what they're going to get hit with. Whenever you're trying to look and process information and things are overly complex and Ole Miss is snapping the ball within 9 seconds, that's a problem for the defense, and that's the reason they do it. That's honestly the reason they do it. So that is that. That's what I think is wrong with Vanderbilt. Like I said, I'll always have a soft spot for them. I will always absolutely have a soft spot for them. And that is because of that time in neuro ICU. I've always kind of liked Vandy anyway. Back when Tennessee was clicking back in the 90s, and they would go into Nashville and just put 70 points in an era when teams didn't score anywhere near that amount of points. Like a 30-point game is like, wow, you guys went overboard today. You know, I can see back when they were accusing Spurrier for running up the score, winning 41-10. That's the era I'm talking about. Whenever they would do that, they'd beat Vandy like 66-3. And I'd feel so bad for Vandy. And I was always kind of a Vanderbilt guy because of that. And, I mean, it's interesting. My introduction to Vanderbilt, honestly, was in 1984 when John Howard hit a 50-yard field goal and it was a spiral. That was my introduction to Vandy. That was right after they came off the Kurt Page time, whenever they had a little win under I think George McIntyre, and then they went down a little bit, and then they spiked up against James Franklin. That was another hire that was obviously a Vandy hire. That wasn't trying to copy anybody. That's something that they wanted to do themselves. they were able to get him, and he was able to do some work, and he parlayed that to the Penn State job and potentially to the USC job. I mean, he would be a great fit down there. He'd be a really good fit at LSU too, by the way. People avoid James Franklin for some reason about the rape case that happened at Vanderbilt. There's just too much of that stink rubbed off of those players onto him. But I mean, it is what it is. He's a heck of a football coach and will be pretty successful wherever he goes. If he goes to USC, they'll be back to an 8-14 at a minimum. That will be the floor. USC will become a good. They will start to recruit well. That'll actually hurt Oregon once they start recruiting, because Mario Cristobal has done a fantastic job in the LA area recruiting players. There's a lot of players in California, as we can attest by our starting quarterback and Alabama's starting quarterback and Georgia's should be starting quarterback. So there's a lot of players out there. So that's what I think is going on. I kind of went into a James Franklin diatribe up there a little bit, but that was a coach whenever they made that hire when they decided they were going to lead. They didn't care what anybody else is doing. After that, they moved into what are the other smart schools doing? And this is just a recipe for failure. Anytime you're copying somebody else, you're not going to be able to do it as well as them. So you need to find your own niche. And James Franklin is a guy that did that at Vanderbilt. It's weird that he had a better tenure at Vanderbilt than he did at Penn State. I mean, it's bizarre with all those resources shifting around. So, real quick, I want to go over the betting lines this week. It's betonline.ag. Kentucky's bumped up about a half a point. Alabama's bumped up about a half a point. Florida about a half a point. Auburn about a half a point. Tennessee's about where it was. Ole Miss is about where it was. I think it went down a little bit. Ole Miss went from 36.5 to 36, and LSU is favored by 29 points. That's too many points. The more I look at it, watch LSU's offense over the last 2 weeks and tell me how they can score 29 points against anybody. I just don't know. Arkansas pretty much shut them down. They're thinking about using a true freshman quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier. I just don't know if LSU can score that many points. And Rich Rod's known for having those weird games, like against LSU in 2019 where they put up 500 yards. That could absolutely happen if LSU is looking ahead to Texas A&M, which they might be. LSU's wearing white helmets, by the way. They're doing the white, purple, white. So if nothing else, that should be aesthetically pleasing as a game. Tennessee, over South Alabama, they should be bowl eligible after this week. They got Vanderbilt next week. They're going to go to a bowl game. They'll be at like the Duke's Mayo Bowl or the Tax Slayer Bowl and just blow somebody out. It's crazy to see the amount of excitement that is building around Tennessee football. That was a big win by Ole Miss early this year. Auburn, they're favored by 7.5. And TJ Finley, backup kicker, the whole 9 yards. When you look at it, you're like, I don't know if they can do that. But the other side of the coin is South Carolina is starting a third-string transfer quarterback from St. Francis, and their win over Florida all of a sudden is not impressive after Samford scored 52 points against them last week. Honestly, this line's about where it needs to be. Florida's favored by 8.5. That's the opposite of what I'm saying. I have all kinds of worries about the Florida Gators. They're going to play at Mizzou. Everything's going on. Tim, they are playing ULM, the Fighting Warhawks from Monroe. And they're 4-6. They're not good, but I just don't know if LSU's going to be able to keep it together. And Alabama 20.5. This may be one of the few games that Alabama's not favored by the number that they should be. Honestly, this game's closer to 25. Honestly, Alabama's going to play a little bit of murder ball, I think. I think that's what they're playing, and the way this line is so small. They're going to line up like they did for the Ole Miss game and just run off tackle. Heavy dose of Brian Robinson. And Kentucky is 36-5 over New Mexico State. Last week, I took New Mexico State and the 51 points. I got burned. This week, I am going to take Kentucky and the 36.5, even though Kentucky is nowhere near where Alabama is. So that is where we're sitting right now on the lines. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're having a good time. We're having a lot of fun. But this show will be rolled over to become the Locked On podcast, the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, starting December 13th. And there's going to be, another network. There's going to be a chance to pull in people. But I do want you to tell people still about what's going on. I want you to evangelize what's happening. Join our Facebook groups. Follow us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis or at YCN_SEC. Hit us up on YouTube, Y'all's Conference Network. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. And if you do that, there's going to be a new YouTube page that gets launched, and there's going to be a new Twitter stream. Whenever that happens, I'll be sure to let you know where that Ole Miss content is. So this Positively Ole Miss POMcast farewell tour that is happening right now that will end pretty much the Friday after Thanksgiving, maybe the week after Thanksgiving. And should be pretty interesting once we start this journey. Podcast will look a lot like it does now, 20 to 30 minutes. There'll be ad breaks all in it, and there'll be readers all in it, and it is what it is. But thank you very much for tuning in today. We make sure this is where it needs to be. And then we will close out of the show. Let's see, 27:19. Yeah, it's where it needs to be. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. This has been the POMcast Farewell Tour Show. We're going to like November 30th or something like that, or December 2nd. I don't know what the date is. Up until the weekend of the SEC Championship game. Then we're going to take a week off, and we'll come back with the split up as it's a matter. So it's the Y'all Conference Network. Follow them. And, of course, you can catch me at the Stephen Willis, and you'll know all about the Locked On stuff as well. But I do want to thank everybody for watching, everybody for tuning in. We're going to keep doing this same time tomorrow, and then we'll get ready for Vanderbilt, and when we come back, Egg Bowl time. It's going to be Egg Bowl time. It's going to be real. But I do want to say thank you to everybody for watching, and I want to say that